Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, audience discretion is advised. We're starting in medias res.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, we're Travelers on the Omnibus, a show where
Three of us did the homework.
Three of us do the homework. And one of them pays $4.99 for a garbage movie.
We'll let you figure out who's that.
My name is Brady Davis.
Jody Guy.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm James McCarthy. Ethan did it. We're not going to make you guess. We're going to make sure everything is 100% on the line. So
Do we want to cover what happened before we even start talking about what we've been up to?
Yeah,
Get this out of
Yeah,
our
'cause
system.
what we've been up to is watching other.
Oh my God.
When it comes to
You have something extra.
You have something extra now that you didn't even know about.
So Ethan watched it. Let's start with Ethan. Ethan watched a movie.
Yeah, Ethan. So we were gonna all watch the one specific movie with a specific name from a specific year
From a specific country.
from a specific country, and Ethan failed on all of those
did
accounts.
none of those
he did
things.
none of those
And
things.
spent money
And
doing
spent
it.
money doing it. I'm glad.
$4.99.
I am proud of you that you have disposable income to spend on that.
I got paid. Don't praise me for my money saving skills. It was happenstance.
Before the preamble, we talk about things we were going to be talking about before we start recording. And while we're doing that, Ethan's looking at his phone while we're talking about the movie we're going to be discussing later.
And every once in a while, he just makes this look at me like he looks up.
Hang on.
with this
If anyone's going to
confused
say
look.
this, it better be me, okay? If anyone's going to
All right,
explain
Ethan,
the
what
fuck
have you
up.
been doing?
All right, you have
Okay.
the floor.
So we're sitting down and we're discussing like, okay, hey, these are just some things that we thought about the movie, experiences we had. As everyone's talking about it, Jody says like, yeah, I got the DVD on my bookshelf.
You're the one who wrote it down.
I know I did. Okay. Jody says like, yeah, I had to look at my bookshelf and I had the movie in DVD. I'm like, that's interesting.
Brady also has it on DVD.
Typically, Jody doesn't enjoy newish horror movies.
That's not true.
Typically, so I do a little
Well, you
digging.
probably would
Last
have a-
week is a perfect example to the contrary.
Yeah, and even he said that there was a happenstance. Even he said it. Anyway, I get to looking, and I'm like, okay, A Tale of Two Sisters. Yeah, that's the movie. I'm pretty sure I
I
watched.
feel like I need a
I'm
gavel.
pretty sure I watched.
And
How old are you again?
That doesn't matter. Okay, I open
For certain things, it actually does. I'm just,
Okay.
just saying.
In this instance, it doesn't matter.
Uh-huh.
I open Amazon Prime because that's where it says like, "Hey, this movie is available." I rented a movie to watch.
He did rent a movie.
He rented a movie.
I'm like, okay, let me do exactly what I did to find this movie: A Tale of Two Sisters. Search. The top result is Two Sisters, and 2 movies down is A Tale of Two Sisters.
Uh-huh. But
I'm
you
like,
clicked on the first option, though, didn't you?
Yep.
I have fucked up.
Yep.
I have fucked up.
Yep.
And now here's Ethan's review of Two Sisters from 2019.
Yeah, we might as well get this.
Don't
out.
watch it.
The Malaysian
Don't
movie.
watch it. It is absolutely dog shit. Do not.
The first movie from this production company.
It is not good. It is stiff fucking acting. It is the Chat GPT plot summary that Jody read to us is like bone chilling scares.
They referred to Roger Corman in a Malaysian movie.
I'm like, no, this is all lies.
It's not the 80s. They don't film in the Philippines anymore.
This is all lies. I felt nothing while watching this. I didn't. I wasn't scared. I
What was
wasn't
going
ecstatic.
through your head? Were you just confused as to why I had picked
Yes!
this particular movie?
Yes, I was. I'm like, why the fuck is Brady pulling a Jody? Am I listening?
I knew
am
that
I
was
listening
coming.
to Gary? Am I listening to?
Don't try and swerve me, buddy. You're the one that threw yourself under the bus.
I have wasted 87 minutes of my life
And $5.
and $5.
87 minutes. It's not even a real movie.
Oh, it's a movie, all right. I watched it. And now everyone is disappointed in me. And
I'm not
Jay,
Oh
disappointed.
no! Oh no! I'm not disappointed at all. I find this completely
This is the
hilarious.
funniest fucking thing.
no, Jay's disappointed.
No,
in me.
the
well,
funniest
maybe a
fucking
little
thing.
bit.
No, you have to understand. We talk at
Yeah,
work.
yes.
And talk came about this young man to my right. You wouldn't know that, of course, audience, because we haven't gotten the video cameras yet. But how best to put this?
This entire week we've like, hey,
Somebody, no. I need you to understand this. Somebody was half-heartedly dissing this young man to the right, not really meaning it, but I came to this young man's defense, and one of the things I mentioned about it's like when you give him a job, God damn it, Ethan does it. That's why I was rubbing my fucking eyes when he told us this story.
He sure showed you.
You missed 2 whole words in that movie that you're supposed to watch.
no.
Tales of.
I missed 3.
It would have been funny. The only thing that would have been funnier is if you would have went just one down in the search of Amazon Prime and just watched A Tale of Two Cities, and you're like, man, there's nothing
That
scary
was the
in
second
this.
search result.
There's
That was the
no-
second.
There's nothing
I
scary
almost-
in this.
I wanted to lead off the second half. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. But no, yeah.
I got nothing else to say. No.
What else have you been
What,
up
have
to?
you been up to anything else, or
No,
just
I've
like
discovered the power of the
disappoint?
He's tapping out.
Nothing I can say.
Tops
Nothing
that?
will redeem me from the lows.
I was
that
gonna
I've-
say tops that.
no. No.
We might have to put like a
Oh,
like a picture of the next movie in the chat, so just to make sure
the year
the year
and the country.
yeah
The director,
The director, yeah.
the main actors,
Yeah, we just-
Yeah.
the cinematographer.
just link to the IMDb on it.
Oh god.
Didn't we? I thought we did.
I don't think
No,
we
I
did
don't think
that.
so.
Okay.
I don't remember doing that, but What?
But God, would that have helped?
We didn't think it was
Oh,
going to be an
God.
issue, but
Yeah.
Neither
going
did I, but
forward.
look
I mean-
at what I did.
That's what happens when we assume.
God.
What do you mean I wasn't supposed to watch Titanic 2?
Well, who wants to follow that?
So our mothership game, it finally came to an end tonight. It was a very good. We were on the Titanic 3. That's why I'm segueing in
Yeah.
right
Good,
here.
good,
so
good.
there we go. But no, Mothership was very solid. I love simple systems. The complexity should come from the story and not from the system. You shouldn't have to look up like 3 different charts to figure out what your character does or
Right.
doesn't do. It's very evocative. It makes hands down one of the best runs Jason Holder, our friend from Whiskey and Wrestling, has ever done. You did a tremendous job, brother. Thank you very much for running that for us. We're going to be doing a lot of spoiling tonight, but so I'll spoil this. This was about 25% module zine and 75% Jason came up on the fly. Ultimately, it was a kind of a pastiche reworking of Event Horizon, except the Satan got back to Earth.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, he was telling me about it. It's basically like, what if we found the Event Horizon and instead of like having a team go look at it, we just like, hey, free ship. Let's take a cruise.
I like it.
It was very good, but very solid. Loved every minute of that. Glad that it's over because it ended well. So so all in all, just fantastic time. Mothership, if you can get that, it's like the basic box gets you everything you need to play the game. There's also a deluxe box which comes with a few more good add-ons. You do get your value for money. I do because we were playing it from the deluxe box, but I
Right.
think just the basic Mothership, I think it's well worth it. And if you just go the PDF route, I think probably through Drive-Thru RPG, even better there.
Yeah, I think the player handbook or something is free online.
Probably.
If I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
There is something free. I can't remember exactly what.
Well,
it's
I
called,
love the
though.
support. I love the zine support. I love the fact that the modules are produced in zines.
Yeah.
It's a very punk style to it, and I think that works very
I
well.
do
I like the zine style of things because like that's how Shadow Dark, all their expansion
Mork
stuff.
Borg
is
is also
done.
Mork Borg. I was about to say
doing
it's Mort Borg does that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Girl by Moonlight. When it released, if you kickstarted, you also had like 4 zines on how to kind of run some stuff in there. I think it's
Basically, all
fantastic.
those like what they call old school Renaissance games. That's kind of how they've done things, and I like that. I think that's pretty cool.
I do too.
I discovered, I spoke about this briefly last week, but I'll go a little bit more in depth. That Balatro is on mobile. I had saved enough Google Play credit that I was just able to buy. It's $10 on Google Play Store. It's $15 on Steam. I think it's well worth the price at both.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a very solid game. I
Yeah.
always wait for your, like the fall sale. I have to assume is coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, you
Look
also
for that
have
on
Black
the sale.
Friday as well.
Black Friday as well. The Steam Winter Sale. You got a lot of stuff as far as Steam goes.
Yeah.
Google Play, like I said, I just saved up enough Google Play credit over the last 2 or 3 years. I was just able to
Yeah.
get it without having to pay for money
Jay
for it.
fired that up for me last Thursday, I believe it was,
Yeah.
and I was able to. I completed a whole run.
Yeah.
It's very addictive.
It's a very addictive game. It's really hard for me to explain it, even though I know how poker works. You know, I'm very, very well astute at poker. But basically, it's you're trying to play multiple hands.
it's deck building poker.
It's
Like,
deck building. Yeah, that's what it is.
And
And you
it's-
get special power ups and things.
It's such a simple design, and it just works so well. Like it's one of those games you can like kind of sit back and watch somebody play it, and if they're talking, like it's one of my like favorite. Like if you look at my like YouTube algorithm right now, like people sitting down saying, "Okay, I've got this. Maybe I should do this." There's a guy it's something Lion. I can't remember his name right now, but he literally is talking nonstop, and he's able to just successfully flow from game to just dad joke.
being entertaining.
Well, specifically like game, dad joke, life advice, things he's gotten to do back to the game, and it just keeps flowing, and it's never annoying. And he can do this like at 30 to 50-minute intervals. I think it's fantastic. So yeah, I'm really excited what Balatro's doing. Right now, it's that and Animal Well for my game of the year. Like it's that close right now. So I'm really excited to kind of dig in a little bit more with this. And there was one other thing I had done. I think I mentioned Heihachi last week. I think I've been putting a little bit more time with Heihachi. Heihachi and Jin are probably like my 2 most played fighters in Tekken 8 right now. And you know what? I can't think of it. It don't matter. We're gonna just move on to the next thing. How about that?
Jody, what you been up to?
So I watched a couple of things and played a couple of things. So we'll talk about the TV first. So the second episode of Uzumaki aired Sunday on Max. Continuing on in the Junji Ito graphic novel manga. Based in the city that is spiraling out of control. Really enjoying it. Dig the art style, the grayscale, and also black and white, depending on the scenes. It just I wouldn't say it really expands on much, but neither did the Netflix show. Just kind of like, some of those stories I hadn't read, so it was new to me. This is a whole different experience because I read Uzumaki, and so I'm just kind of like, oh, I remember that. There's a lot of that for me in that as well, and you get like some more animated visual representation of the story. So yeah, I'm digging that. That's really cool. And then I watched The Glow from the TV.
I saw the TV glow.
I saw the TV Glow. Me and Brady were talking about it earlier. It's an interesting movie.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about the way it ends.
Yeah.
It ends kind of weird. But then again, the movie, it did a really good job of making me feel slightly disoriented at times, where I couldn't really figure out not what was happening on screen, but like how I felt about what was happening on screen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's less of a... There is like some unease and disorientation that you feel in the movie. It's not really like you don't ever really feel scared in the movie.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, it just there's also a lot of scenes where because it's sort of like told with a narrator off and on, which is the main guy, or I should say character. But even though it has like chapters, it feels like there's like a build up, but there's almost never any payoff for the build up.
Yeah, it's very unusual in that way.
In the scenes or whatnot, it's not something that I could like, give you a like recommend or not recommend because I don't really know how I feel about it as a whole.
Yeah, it's a.
It wasn't mediocre. It was visually well done. The acting in it was also really well done.
Mm-hmm.
The story is so not convoluted, but ambiguous and kind of all over the place at the same time. There's really never any tying of any sort of loose ends or any of that.
You don't get answers.
Yeah.
So if that's something that bugs you, like I would say this is not the movie for you.
It's one of the only movies I've seen. Well, it's one of the only like American or Canadian production movies that I've seen like this because I've seen movies that are like similar as far as the ambiguous nature of the film and feeling disoriented. One of them is not a good movie. It's a sequel to a good movie, not Evil Dead, but Evil Dead Trap 2. Evil Dead Trap is an 88 Japanese horror movie. Oh,
wow. Okay.
It's really good, actually.
Okay.
Evil Dead Trap 2 is not a good movie. And I think they made a third one, but they should have stopped at one. One was actually pretty decent. But as far as like, being sort of, having a like disjointed, confused kind of experience that it's similar in that way. I didn't dislike it, but I don't love it either. And I mean, as far as Glow is concerned, so I watched that, and then I watched one of the first horror movies, which I didn't see in its entirety when it aired because I was 7. I grew up in a very fundamentalist household. The only reason we were able to have a television in the house, depending, sometimes we didn't have a TV in the house, was because my dad liked sports. And so he convinced my mother for us to have a TV in the house for sports, but also the news, right?
Yeah.
But mainly for sports. Well, she was visiting a friend, one of her church friends, on the night of 1979. And my father, which we never really had bonding time for the most part. Sorry to scar you with my emotional backstories. But he decided it would be funny for us to bond while watching a movie on television.
Okay.
It was Salem's Lot.
Okay.
I don't think he understood the scarring that would occur from that. And go figure that I love horror movies now. But there's a scene in that movie where now it's a quote unquote vampire movie, but some of the vampires, especially the ghost kids, are very creepy.
Yeah.
And so I just remember like originally remembering the scene where there's like this floating like ghost child with these yellow eyes on the other side of the second story window, like just like fingernails on glass noises. Let me in. Let me in. And they lets him in because they were friends, and vampires have that gaze, Scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Of course, I was like fucking 7. Nightmares for like probably a year. So I watched that over the weekend.
Okay.
I hadn't seen it since I was a child.
Okay.
So there's 2 movies that did that to me. That one, and then another one when I was younger was Magic.
Okay.
Which is Anthony Hopkins, which I only remember seeing the trailer when I was a child, but it terrified me because ventriloquist doll.
Oh, yeah.
That movie's actually not terrifying, but anyway. Salem's Lot, I think it holds up. It's definitely got a lot of cheese to it, and it's got that like, because it was made for TV, a quote-unquote mini-series, but it's really only 3 hours long.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those 2-part mini-series that was made for television. But pretty graphic on a couple of the scenes made for television. But the 70s were kind of wild anyway. It's a decent flick. I think it holds up. It definitely has that late 70s made for TV kind of sting to it with the slow pacing. At the first half of the movie is just like, I was like, I don't do this when I watch movies, but I was looking at my phone in between, like when there was like nothing happening, like hardly any dialogue happening or whatever. But they built it up, all right. I've never read the book. I have read most of King's earlier works, but that's one I haven't read. So I watched that, and I enjoyed it. It was all right. I made a magic deck list while I was watching it. So
I think there's a remake of that coming out pretty soon on some streaming.
It's already
service.
out.
It's already out.
Yeah, it's on HBO Max.
Okay. Oh yeah, it is out. It was made like in 2001 and just kept getting put in production hell.
Right.
I don't know. It to me it doesn't look good, but and then whatever.
I haven't watched this one, but there's a sequel to Salem's Lot called Return to Salem's Lot.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that the video of that.
I think that was like in the 80s or something.
87.
Yeah. Wow, it's like 7, 8. That's 8 years after the first one.
Yeah.
And then I took my kid because her birthday week's coming up, and we went to took him out to Saltgrass, which is a great restaurant in Biloxi. Delicious. I would say, like, when you look at a restaurant on Google, it'll tell you how many dollar signs it is. It's in between 3 and 4.
Yeah.
It's more on the 3. I think collectively both meals were like around $60 or something like that. But I mean, it's not something you do every so often.
Yeah, it's a once every while place.
But I will say, you get what you pay for it, because like I got a full rack of ribs for $30. And
you got that's hard a price to get going to the store,
right?
Yeah, and they ain't cooked them yet.
They're delicious too. It was very good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And then I was we tend to not make plans because it's just fun just to have adventures and whatnot. And I was like, it's 4:30 or whatever. I was like, hey dude, you want to go watch a movie? Like, what's out? Now look out what's out. I'm like, well, we got 2 choices really, because ironic watching, because there's nothing out that I want to see that's good. I was like, well, we have 2 choices: Beetlejuice, and Joker 2.
So, which did you watch?
Joker 2.
You could have also done Megalopolis.
Well, that's not something I don't think.
I don't think he would have been comfortable with his child.
Yeah. Also, I was not offering that as a positive alternative.
Although I don't want to pay. If somebody would like to pay for me to go see Megalopolis, I would very much appreciate it. I just don't want to pay money.
Is that because you want to see how the sausage is made on that one? Basically,
I want to see
Coppola's last work
movie made that the man sold his winery to make this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joker 2. I apologize.
I have heard things.
I've seen it. So if there are any questions for me, I'm here.
I know. So I read the synopsis of what happened and burst out laughing because it's the stupidest thing.
That's fair.
It is the stupidest thing.
That's fair. The end result, I'm going to go backwards with it because I'm not going to give a full review of this movie.
Okay.
But overall, I would say, a lot of problems with the first one is it was style over substance, and it doubles down on that in this one. But this one also is sort of like, I guess, an answer to reasons why you shouldn't have been enamored with the character in the first movie, because the way this one ends, well, I should say not ends, but the way that the last courtroom scene, because a lot of this is in a courtroom, or at least 1/3 of it is basically like Arthur coming out and saying like, I'm not the Joker. This was just a fantasy. Kind of like, don't be enamored with the character kind of thing.
From what I've seen, it's a movie where the director hated the people who actually liked the movie.
Yeah.
Because he wanted this to be he wanted the first Joker to be like this cinema, artistic accomplishment. That's what he saw.
Except it had been done 40 years ago, and it was called Taxi Driver.
It's not like I understand
With a little bit of King of Comedy sprinkled in.
I understand. It's more King. For me personally, I don't like the Taxi reference. King of Comedy more so because Taxi Driver, it's similar in a very small amount. Like for me personally, like it's like sure they're both crazy.
It was written. He didn't write it, but it was written by a person and also directed by a person who remembers Taxi Driver and remembers King of Comedy.
That's fair. Like I said, more King of Comedy than Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver, just only the really like unhinged parts of Taxi Driver, because like the thing that pushes De Niro's character in Taxi Driver is not the same thing that this character is going through.
There's not a child Jody Foster prostitute.
Well, there's not that, but also he's unhinged by himself. He doesn't have like a mother character, and all that, and like it being tied in the WB universe with like Batman and Bruce Wayne and all this other all this other stuff and Arkham and how all of that's run. But this movie was like didn't know what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
It had some really cool cinema visuals. It had some really cool song choices, and it had some cool scenes with those in them. And like outside of that though, it's not great. And more so, and this is usually a detriment to a film when you put it this way. This movie didn't have to be made for any reason. There was no reason for this movie.
No, this was a cash grab movie.
This was Joker made all the money, so we have to make a second one.
Right. And because of that, I don't know how much of this was made bad on purpose.
I have no idea.
But
I think of this the way I think now of The Last Jedi, in that I legitimately do believe. I think there are some interesting ideas at play here. Making this a musical, if you're going to make it a musical, you get one of the strongest female voices, and I mean that in a literal sense.
Sure.
And you do things with that.
Yeah.
I can, from an execution, and I haven't seen this.
Right.
I can only go about on word of mouth on this.
Sure.
The execution has been shit.
Well, I mean, they played too hard into the fact that in the first movie, he was delusional and would have fantasy versions of things that would happen in reality that weren't happening, and all the musical sequences are happening in his head.
Yeah.
So, and going into that and knowing that and figuring out that's what it was going to be, subvert the expectations of what the movie's going to be. That being said, 3 couples walked out during the movie, and I think mainly that was because it kept going on.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they never told anybody, and they kept pretending that it wasn't a musical.
Right.
Like even they interviewed Lady Gaga, and she was like, "No, it's not a musical. It's just sometimes people like
burst into song
and explain their thoughts and feelings through song." And it's like,
that's
bitch, that's a musical,
right?
That's the essence of a musical.
Bitch, that's a musical. Jesus. But and the type of people who really liked Joker and were looking forward to Joker 2,
right,
don't like musicals.
Yeah.
And they felt betrayed that they made it a musical.
I'm going to say this.
Good, also.
I'm going to say this. So, even within, like I said, I don't hate it. I don't love it. Like, and that's bad. For me, what doesn't make sense is the way the movie ends. And I understand why they did it, but again, going back to execution. So the thing about this movie is that the character, he's enamored with Harley, but her name is Lee in this one, but still Lee Quinnell. He's obsessed with her, and then they actually do get together in reality. And then when he comes out in the courtroom, it says he's not Joker. She like loses interest, and there's a whole thing there. At the end of the movie, one of the officers, when he's back in jail, says, "You have a visitor." That's going to be the only person that's visiting him.
Yeah.
There is one guy that looked at him weird one time throughout the whole movie, and he goes, "Hey, Arthur, I have a joke. You want to hear a knocked out joke? Listen." He should, any other time he would have been like, "Sure," but this time, for a fact that it's probably Lee that's visiting him. He would have said, nah, man, nah, I'll catch you later. Sure, tell me a joke. Stabs him 20 times in the stomach. That's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And it is hinted that is actually the real Joker.
Yeah, he cuts his face with the blade.
Is it that the dumbest fucking thing you've ever
Sits
heard?
in the corner and starts laughing maniacally.
Man, I have never read like about a movie that hates its core audience so much. It is so funny how stupid that is. Oh man. It's great. It's wonderful. Man, cinema. What the hell? Movies are back, guys. Did y'all know that? The movies are back. I am so glad that this has made like negative money.
It's made no money.
I have been a disappointment, and I have been disappointed.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Within a span of 6 hours.
Yeah.
I was about to say,
Hell, the span of 30 fucking minutes. Damn.
I've been a disappointment, and I will continue to be a disappointment. Brady, what have you been up to?
So not very much. Basically, really all I've done is I watched a movie.
Was it Two Sisters?
No.
Okay.
It wasn't Joker 2.
Besides the movie that
Was it Beetlejuice?
No, besides the movie that we were assigned and 3/4 of us watched, I watched the movie Apartment 7A, which is a prequel to Rosemary's Baby. In fact, there is a character who dies very early in Rosemary's Baby, and it follows this character who was kind of the first person that they were going to do the Rosemary's Baby thing.
The ritual.
To. Yeah. Stars Julia Garner. I never remember if it's Gardner or Garner. I apologize because I do love her as an actress. And that's the main reason that I was interested. Garner. That was the main reason that I wanted to watch this movie. Watched it over at a friend's house. And we kind of half paid attention. It's a fine movie. They do a good job of like the sets and everything look pretty good. Garner gives a very good performance, which she does every single fucking time. She's a good actress. When I see her in something, I immediately am more interested in that thing. But it's fine.
Also has a Diane Wiest in it.
Yes, you get a Wiest infection from that.
That's 2 weeks worth of Wiest infections.
Yeah.
Thank you,
when
Brooklyn
I saw
Nine-Nine.
her, I was like, I get to make that joke again. She's a dancer who in like I think it's more like off-Broadway things, and she gets injured, and this couple who are the Cassavetes, if you remember Rosemary's Baby, they take her in and they say, hey, we have this apartment that we own, you can just stay here, and she sees no red flags whatsoever.
Here, we'll make you tea for you.
Yeah, and then she gets drugged and impregnated with Satan's baby. And
I thought it was Rosemary's Baby.
Well, that comes later. You actually see them like from the back in the very end. Although the way that works doesn't work because of the way she died and the way the people, the Cassavetes were with her when she died, jumping out of the apartment window. But then they're also down on the ground when they see Rosemary and her husband talking to the police when where she died. But again, like, she gives a good performance. It's a fine movie. It's no Rosemary's Baby. Like, it's very far from that.
Right.
It does have some really weird moments, but then you think back, in Rosemary's Baby actually has some weird moments.
It does have some odd moments.
So it like I said, it's okay. It's not phenomenal. If Julia Garner wouldn't have been in it, I definitely wouldn't have watched it. I wouldn't have been interested. But it does an okay job. I know it's gotten some really, like, from what I've seen, most of the people who watched it just didn't like it at all. And of course, when you compare it to Rosemary's Baby,
it's a seminal horror movie.
Yeah,
like, it's hard to
Yeah, basically, it doesn't hold up to that at all.
No. Oh.
But
that's like anything with exorcisms. They don't hold up to the original Exorcist movie.
Yeah, it's fine. If it sounds like something that's interesting, I would say check it out. But, like, don't go out of your way. But it is. I think it's on Paramount Plus. So if you have that, maybe check it out if you want some spooky season stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hadn't really done too much else.
You sure about that?
Yeah. I don't remember anything.
I mean, you were talking to me about you looking at some magic stuff this past week. So
I don't recall.
yeah, you're saying like you have some like deck lists about a knight's deck and possibly a raccoon.
No,
deck.
I
Is
don't.
this a bit?
I don't.
Did y'all
recall.
plan this?
No, it's not planned.
It
Much
feels
like
a
Ethan
planned-
watching the wrong movie
Yeah.
wasn't planned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Watching the
Ju-
right
ju-
movie
ju-
was planned. He just went against plans.
Okay. Just go ahead and say it, Brady.
I started playing Magic.
We suckered him in.
I've got a deck, and I've got 2 more decks.
Which
on
one
the
of y'all's
way.
gonna start playing Age of Sigmar? That's my question right now.
I played Age of Sigmar. I'm done.
I've played it.
Yeah, I play Magic now. I guess I've watched a lot of videos, and I've ordered cards and decks and updated decks, and
I blame Bloomborough and Fallout for this.
Bloomborough.
Bloomborough started it.
That's
Red
the
Redwall.
key.
It's the addiction to Redwall and nostalgia that
I
pulled him
blame-
and Holder into.
Yeah.
I blame the holder
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
for
Holder.
giving me a deck, and then I'm like, well, fuck.
Oh.
Oh, that's what happened. I didn't know about
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
Yeah, he gave me the Mothman deck, and I was like, fuck.
Oh,
It's
wow.
one of the better
Okay.
ones out of
Yeah.
that set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Played a lot. Played at a friend's house. Holder just whooped both of our asses because mine's slightly above a like maybe
He-
8 to 10 cards have changed out. But then,
Mothman out of the box. There's usually always one out of the cycle of commander decks that come out every 5 minutes. That's one of the standalones, like really good out of the box decks.
yeah, it's got some good stuff in it.
the one that you're looking at, Bello,
Yeah.
the red green raccoon. To me, that's like the best one.
Yeah, that one seemed fun, and it does like a really different thing than the other deck, than the deck that I already
Right.
have. So I've got
That's
that
what
one
I'm
coming.
always looking for. Something different.
And then I've watched a whole lot of videos, mostly about like upgrading those decks. But then I've also found some other people who have talked about like, hey, here's some like budget decks
Right.
that
Oh, yeah.
that that you can make. And there were a few actually that one guy Nick's Lotus that he had, and I was like, oh, those actually look interesting, let me save them to, and I've got all of the stuff of one of them. It's a
Right.
night deck coming.
It doesn't hurt that the format never rotates.
Yeah,
That's very helpful.
that's cool.
You just gotta wait until some key cards get banned. And then you have to change
that
everything.
could,
So Ethan didn't, I don't think he heard me. If he does, it's going to spoil this. But so that entire deck, the night deck that I had, I put it in on TCG Player to just see how much it is.
Oh yeah.
The whole thing, the cards themselves cost $37.
Yeah.
How much do you think the shipping was on those?
Is it coming from multiple like sources or just one?
it's coming from TCG Player.
It's coming from TCG
That's the
Player.
only. That's the only thing you're getting there.
Shipping is probably gonna be somewhere around like 25, 30.
Wrong.
$118
What the fuck?
before optimization.
Because TCG ships out every card singularly.
Yeah.
Not unless you're getting like from like one central store.
That's why you buy from Card Kingdom and Star City Games.
Yeah.
Because you won't get that when you're trying to buy a whole deck.
Yeah,
Oh,
eventually I was able to like pull some stuff back, and because they do sell, like TCG Player does sell
You
some.
can.
I was
yes.
able to get as much as I can just directly from them, and then I got it from some other places. But yeah, before I even optimized it
Jesus.
was $118 for shipping, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is fucking ridiculous. I didn't even like look through and see
No.
like what was the issue with that, but like even optimizing it, it got it down to like 20. It was around $20, $20-something in shipping.
Yeah.
Every time I order like largely from TCG, I always try my best to like order from the same distributor.
Yeah.
So that way it all comes in one package. So I only have like 6 instead of like 17 coming
Yeah.
to me.
I just order from Card Kingdom and ignore that whole entire Some of the cards are more, but some of them are cheaper. So
Yeah.
it balances
Yeah.
out for me.
Yeah. Cool Stuff Inc. is actually a good one too. They just don't have as big a stock as the other ones.
They don't.
But they also have it to where like if you're just buying singles, it's $3 for shipping. Like that's all.
There was a moment where like everybody that was gaming content was like fucking sponsored by Cool Stuff, and now they don't fucking sponsor anybody anymore.
Well, it's because now all they do is like it's card games and like hero clicks and stuff like that. They don't do board games or anything like that anymore. Because I used to check them a whole lot for like sales and stuff, and now it's just like card games and like hero clicks and maybe some other miniature games, but not much. They've really like pared down what they do. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm fucking playing Magic now. I don't know. It's fine, and fortunately, I've gotten obsessed with it, so I don't go half measures on anything when I get interested in it. So yeah, you'll probably be hearing more about me playing and shit. Luckily, I have store credit here, so I've been able to not pay a whole lot for stuff.
There you go.
So yeah, that's me. Jay, do we have any feedback?
No feedback this week. However, passengers, thank you for joining us tomorrow, today, tonight, or whenever you are joining us on the Omnibus. If you'd like to leave feedback on this or any of our previous episodes, travelersontheomnibus at gmail.com. Again, that is travelers, 1L, on the omnibus at gmail.com. Jody, how else may they engage with us?
A tale of two Spotifys.
Yes.
Actually, Spotify.
Yeah.
And actually, it's two Spotify.
Two Spotify.
Yes.
Just two Spotifys.
The Malaysian version.
The Malaysian 2019 version of Spotify.
There you go. Also, again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. If you would like to share our podcast with friends that you think would dig us, but they don't dig on podcasts, where you dig on podcasts, we are available on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube via our YouTube channel, Travelers on the Omnibus.
Well, wake up! It's time for our...
Yeah, so now it's time for our main event that three of us will be talking about and Ethan will be hearing about for the first time.
We're starting in media res again. Ethan is playing Balatro on my recommendation, and I think that is the best thing.
Yeah, he's
that
about
could
to
be
take
happening.
a nap. So
I'll be here emotionally for
Yeah.
everyone.
Do you want your juice box? How about some cookies?
you'll be here
Is it apple
spiritually,
juice?
which
Is it
actually
orange
goes along,
juice?
It does connect very
which
well.
goes along with our movie for this evening.
Two sisters.
No, God, no. A Tale of Two Sisters,
You can remember it better because its initials would be ATOTS.
which came out in 2003 in South Korea, but 2005 in America.
The production company is BOM Film Productions Company. I think it's a lot of guts to name your film production company Bomb. I think it's very brave of them. It probably has a different cultural meaning over there, but I just found that to be a little bit very serendipitously funny.
Written and directed by Kim Ji-woon. This is a South Korean movie, so forgive us if we mispronounce any of these names. I apologize. So yeah, this is also the guy who directed I Saw the Devil, which I have talked about in the past on this show. So yeah.
This movie is also based off of the Korean folktale Jeonghwa Hungarian, which translated is Rose Flower Red Lotus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we start out, and it's some kind of mental institution or something like that.
I want to go even further back. That title background scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, it's flowers. And then, wait a minute, but it looks like eyes staring at you, those two white flowers right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And then when the title overlays, it's red, and that's where you get Rose Flower Red Lotus. So I thought it was very nice. I thought it was a very nice one right there.
So yeah, this girl is being led to the table by a nurse. The doctor is sitting down. Ask her like, how is she doing? Does she remember anything about that day? We don't see the girl's face. Her head is down the whole time. She's almost catatonic. and he shows her a picture. It's like, do you remember who these are? Is this your family? And then we kind of fade into, at this point, we're not sure if it's a flashback or, flash forward or whatever. I will say there are some confusing parts about this movie, but I feel like it brings it all together by the end.
I had a few notes about this. The first thing, and Brady's going to hate me for this, but the look of that scene, the stark walls, the asylum look, the pairing off, it reminded me of the first time Dr. Loomis speaks with Michael Myers in the Halloween 2007 from Rob Zombie. I wonder if he had seen that, and because it's not exact, but it's uncanny how that looks.
This is, that's a weird thing that Rob Zombie might have actually picked up on.
To his credit, like legitimately, he is a fan of horror.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I could see him absolutely like gravitating towards thing like this. The question he asks, he specifically asks her, "Who do you think you are?" I'm going to combine two of our favorite quotes. Foreshadowing is a hell of a drug.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And so it's just
a lot of foreshadowing.
Yeah,
in
a lot
this
of
movie.
foreshadowing. And then what I'm effectively going to be calling the hair meme. It's the Asian girl with long dark hair.
Yeah.
Right. For sure.
I'm not saying that to kind of denigrate it, but it's there. It's kind of always kind of like
that
in the
is
back of the
a
head.
trope in live Asian cinema for one reason or another. That might be something we can explore one day. So we kind of fade into this car driving up to this kind of estate. It's in the countryside.
Before it got to like where the road kind of turned into like a weird kind of like land bridge or like a like gravel bridge. Didn't that look like from the original It from 1990? Didn't that look like the swamp where the cistern is that Pennywise comes out of? Like that was the
I have tried to erase most of that movie from my
Yeah, I don't
brain because
remember
I watched
the
it way too young.
Okay.
Original
So I don't remember it.
TV movie version.
it's something that stood out to me.
Yeah. It's possible, but I try to avoid that movie because it scared the shit out of me as a child. They pull up to this house. This guy gets out, who we're assuming is dead. Then our two teenage girls get out, Sue Mi and Soo Yeon. And they kind of start looking around. They run off to the pier that's by a lake, and they're kind of sitting there.
It also, like the outside shot, there's somebody inside the house looking through a window.
Yeah.
And you see the one sister run past where the window visual can the eye of sight from that angle, but you only see the one sister.
It reminded me of The Boy and the Heron when they arrive at the house the first
Yeah.
time.
We have a little quiet moment where they're sitting, on this little pier with their feet in the water. You can tell like Sue Mi is kind of the more active, I guess, or
I initially read it as she's the elder sister.
yeah, she's the
And
elder
so
sister.
she's the one, like
Right.
she's the one, and it seems like a very kind of positive relationship between the two. But
Yeah.
it's a positive relationship in that. I'm going to get this wrong because
Soo Yeon.
yeah, well, it's Soo-yeon played real quick. I do want to.
If you wrote down their name, yeah, that's great.
Im Soo-jung plays Bai Soo-mi. Bai is the family name, B-A.
Yeah.
And then Moon Gyung-young plays Bai Soo-yeon. Fantastic performances from both of them. In particular, Im Soo-young, who I believe this was like her first acting role after being like a young model in Korea.
Oh, okay.
If I remember my notes correctly from the other side. So
Yeah.
I think it's just very well performed.
Yeah,
And this is one of those
the chemistry between the two sisters is very, very strong, which helps the movie a lot. Soo Yeon is definitely the more reserved sister. Their dad calls them back home. Well, calls Soo Mi home, back to the house, and here's where we meet Yoon Ju, who is the evil stepmother. She starts off just being a huge bitch.
12 minutes 4 seconds in, stepmom jump scare. this hallway is abnormally dark.
It
Yeah.
is.
And
The way they play with color in here is like not
Light.
color but light. But they
Yeah.
also play with color that I'll
Yeah.
talk about later.
Yeah, she comes out of like darkness, and not in a way that's like but
Right.
just the natural way of it was kind of creepy. And then I also had the note at 12:55, the lighting from underneath and to the side on her face on that was so well done. Like
Yeah.
it sets this mood.
Yeah,
so
the use of light and
perfectly.
dark is like very, very, very good in this.
Because this house seems infinite.
Yeah, it's a very weird house. Like I also noticed how usually it on the outside it looks very like Asian, but on the inside it's made very much like a European style house. I'm
With
certain,
those small bedrooms.
I'm certain you could write an essay about that.
For me, it was shining geometry because there are places in this house that I don't feel should be where they are.
Yeah.
Or they feel like they're in different spots and
They
places
do.
in time.
They do feel out
And
of
it
place.
satisfies the plot while also giving you that there's an unnaturality to this place.
Yeah, the house itself is unnerving to look
yeah,
at
yes, definitely
from the inside and the outside.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, this is a note from further down. It's lighter at night than it is during the day. Like that there's
Yeah,
just
during the day, there's
there's
shadows
long
everywhere.
shadows, like not so much even long shadows. Like there are hallways where there are no windows where there should be a light on, and there's
Right.
just never a light on.
Right.
And the lights only really come on at night, and that's when you can actually see things better. So again, it's one of those things that in the back of your head, it's like this is not natural.
Right.
Something's going on here.
So yeah, she basically like just the stepmother like just starts off just 100 miles per hour treating him like shit, and they argue and the mom kind of walks off, and every time that they argue it's Sue Me that's mostly doing the arguing, and then Soo Young kind of falls into the background. That will make sense quite a bit later. We see that the dad,
Yeah, it's Bae Moo Hyun, played by Kim Sup Soo.
yeah, he is very distant with everything,
With everyone.
with
yeah.
everyone. So
Except Sue Me.
yeah, except Sue Me. This will all come into play later. Happens next.
Okay, so she goes up to her room.
Oh yeah,
And the room is already kind of ordered. Like she goes to try to put stuff back in order, but it's already in order. And then she goes over to a a cabinet.
Cabinet.
And she opens up the cabinet, and it's the most OCD closet cabinet ever, because every dress is the same dress. And again, it's that unnaturality of it that is just weird and bad and wrong. And just and then they continue their argument just for a little bit. Again, it establishes this contention between I'm going to also apologize. Yoonju and Soo Mi, in the fact that there's something more to, and it feels like it's more than just stepmother daughter. It's more than the Cinderella thing. There's something else there.
Yeah,
that
it's
goes
very
even deeper.
extreme.
yeah.
Yeah.
That will also play into
Yes.
There's a
later.
dinner scene at around 1934. Pills and wine, the best dessert.
Yeah, he they kind of they continue to bicker back and forth with Soo Young just kind of sitting there, and then the dad gets up and just places 2 pills in front of Yoonju, and then kind of just fucks off. He was like, "Hey, you don't have to clean this up. You can do it tomorrow. It's fine."
I've got things I've got to do.
Yeah. And so then Yoonju, Soo Mi gets up and leaves, and Yoonju kind of berates Soo Young and says, "Hey, aren't you supposed to follow her?" And Yoonju was like, "Oh, okay, shit." And then she runs off. Yoonju takes the medicine. Then we go to Yoonju kind of getting ready for bed, right? That's the next part where she's like,
Yeah, I called it the mirror to bed scene. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like she doesn't know how to, like, she's like like it's like she's putting on lipstick, except she doesn't have any lipstick in her hand, and she's just kind of caressing like the bottom of her lip, and then she hears like coming in, and then she immediately darts into the bed, grabs a book, and so that she looks like she's reading a book.
Yeah.
As the father comes into the room,
As the husband comes into the
Yeah.
room, pulls the covers all the way up to her shoulders and pretends to be reading a book.
Yeah, and then we cut to the dad and her. They're kind of just laying there, and then he kind of pulls away from her.
He
and,
wakes up in the middle of the night and pulls away from her.
Well, I don't even think he went to sleep. I think he waited for her to go to sleep.
Oh yeah,
and then he goes downstairs
and
to sleep on a
and
chair.
sleeps on like a Chase Lounge looking thing.
Yeah.
Which looked very uncomfortable.
Yes, it does.
And then this is where Soo-yeon, she wakes up in the middle of the night, right?
Yeah, this is. I can't speak highly enough for how good a simple, effective scare is, and a simple, relatable, effective scare.
Yeah.
The door creaks open, and you see fingers coming from the door.
Yeah.
And that's just.
Yeah.
It's just a simple effect, and it's something that as kids we could have easily either dreamt up something exactly the same or similar. It is
Unnerving.
Yeah,
It's
they
perfect.
do kind of jump scares every once in a while, but they're not really like set up as much like a jump scare, but like they build tension very effectively, because like as soon as she sees that, she like Soo-yeon like turns over and like kind of covers her head, and then there's this tension of, oh my god, is she gonna open her eyes, and whatever the fuck's out there is gonna be like right there.
Right.
and then something is pulling the bed sheet off of
very
her.
slowly, so you get like more tension, and then a loud noise happens, and she looks up and it's gone, and she
all
hears
clear.
down the God, this house has the creakiest fucking floorboards.
The door also, when it opens, it's,
Oh yeah.
So credit to sound design then, just real quick. Just the accentuation of certain diegetic sounds, which when there are jump scares, it pays off because it's something in the environment as opposed to just a sting that comes along with what's going on.
Yeah, and then
and there's almost no score too, right? Like
There
it's
is
subtle.
so-
It's very subtle.
well, there's like there's one main motif. There's this kind of and it's very similar to Old Boy, with the kind of fairy tale sounding musical piece.
And
It's kind of almost sounds like something you hear on like a carousel or something like that. Whenever oftentimes it's when the girls are together and they're doing stuff together. But then they also later in the movie use it to like underscore tragedy as well.
but it's not like every scene doesn't get a score to it,
Right.
which for me only when those
Usually
jump
when there's
accentuates.
when there's the scares and the tension, there's not much
Musical cues.
musical cues.
Yeah.
There'll be a little here and there, but like but that's like to put the exclamation point, not really to like build the tension. The
Right.
tension is built from like the sound design and the visuals.
Yeah,
usually
the longer a scene went on, to me, that's when like the music completely cut out. They usually are okay. We're switching scene to another thing, and even then, that doesn't necessarily happen in this movie. So again, you're used to silence, 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 and then, like I said, when those sounds kick in for those jump scares, though they hit harder, they're more effective. To me, they help me remember the movie a lot better.
Right.
One thing I do want to admit, before he went to bed, he is on the phone with someone.
Oh yeah, you hear him several times on the phone with
And
somebody.
this is where I'm going to come in with the Lee Winnell Greater Chekhov's gun postulate, because I can't get away from that from the Invisible Woman from last week. Now I see Chekhov's guns everywhere.
Well,
And
the cabinet itself is a Chekhov's gun.
yeah.
The cabinet is the dock scene, or is everything sets itself up in some way, shape, or form.
Well, just the way in the beginning when Sumi gets out of the car and walks by that particular balcony area, it all kind of comes together at the end. So yeah, then Sumi wakes up, and then she finds Soo-yeon is in the bed with her, and she kind of comforts her, and they fall asleep. And then we get in the morning time. Sumi has a little encounter where and this is what was this part was like really like there was the tension was really strong in this one, because usually you think like, oh, okay, it's a haunting thing during the day, you don't have to worry about it. Nope. She wakes up and she looks over the edge of her bed and she sees a head slowly moving, and then it stands up and she is just like filled with dread, like she can't even move. So this like ghostly woman stands up again. It's the trope of the dark hair in front of the face.
But in addition, also want to add the pale white. Like her face is naturally pale white. Like sometimes the makeup effects on this sometimes take that a bit too far.
Right.
Of all things, The Ring, the American Gore Verbinski version, I think did it well. With how natural the paleness was. I thought the paleness in the original Ringu was actually almost for lack of better, almost Joker white, and that to me kind of took me out.
That was also in Ju-On as well.
And Ju-On as well, yeah. Which I think The Grudge. Though to be fair, The Grudge's director is the Japanese director who did Ju-On. He basically was doing the same series across the Pacific Ocean. But the part that got me is it's a shot of her leg from the knee down where the
she gets and stands up on the she crawls up onto the bed and then stands on the bed over Sumi.
Just so imposing.
Yeah.
But it's the shot of her leg and the arm coming out the bottom of the dress.
Well, you see blood dribble down, and then you see this arm slowly crawl out. It's like, shit.
Yeah, it's just fucking terrifying.
But
that was so
and I forgot
good.
this is also like a dream in a dream, because she also has these dreams of these flashbacks that will make sense later. And then she wakes up and it's like, oh my God. And then she sees this thing.
That screaming is so unnerving. Jesus.
Yeah, and then she wakes up again, like, oh shit, this is another dream. And then they're outside, sitting like on a porch. Or does something happen between?
So 3908, the natural. Then my note is the natural and the unnatural, which is the period scene. They wake up and
there are spots of
Suyeon has had her period. Sumi has to like sneak into the stepmom's bedroom where and part of the reason why the geometry doesn't make any sense, because you're really like the stepmom is not sleeping in the same bed that she was sleeping in before, and it's very confusing. But she sneaks in there to get like some pads, and as she's coming out, the stepmom berates her some more. And says, "Oh, we all have our period on the same day." So yeah, Sumi gets the stuff for Suyeon, and they take all the
takes the bedclothes.
There was a small. I got a smile out of the she literally hands all the bed linen over.
Yeah, she just starts piling it onto Suyeon.
It's just that was a little bit of the brief
levity.
bit
just
of levity.
The tiniest bit of levity in this movie. That's all that they could squeeze out. And then we cut to like the linen drying with the singular dress, the sleeping dress.
Yeah.
And they're sitting on the two sisters are sitting on this little porch area with a bird cage hanging above them. When we see, I think we saw earlier how the stepmom like really takes care of these birds, and these are like very important to her. But they joke about like, all these things are annoying, we should just kill them. Which
later,
okay.
Chekhov's birds.
Yeah, the dad comes up and is still like very distant and seems very put upon with her. What happens after this?
Is this one?
My note 4253. He only ever talks to Sumi.
Yes.
He never references Suyeon.
Yes.
This is a fun movie to watch, because I remembered a lot of what happened, but I didn't remember everything.
Right.
But this is
the
a fun
reason
one.
why I watched it a second time. We'll be definitive about that in a little bit.
Yeah,
but
this is a
there's
fun one to
reason why I
watch
watched it
again.
twice.
Is this when the reveal happens or no?
No.
We're a good half hour.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Before that starts to flip.
Well, they get into it a little bit, right? Like him and her, or am I mistaken? No, he just kind of passes by, right? And when they're sitting on the bench,
there's this
exasperation.
There's this consistent passive tension.
Yeah, because he's like he mentioned something about like you should go back inside.
Yeah, it's cold.
It's cold. You should go back inside. She's like, I will.
Yeah,
And that's all. That's
just
all.
Being
it's
very
said.
defiant. there was a scene where the stepmom was like putting out everybody's clothes, and she saw that the dad's clothes had already been put out, and she berates Sumi.
Yeah, that's
because she
not
said,
your
That's
job.
not your job.
52:30 for that scene. Sumi is lit with half her face in light, half incomplete. Like you can't make out details of the right side of her. Well, excuse me, the left side of her face, right side of the screen.
Right.
I mentioned sound design, but the lighting
Yeah.
team, the
Oh, yeah.
cinematographers for this deserves all the credit in the world. There's some just really standout things right here. The family dinner comes up next.
Yeah.
Earlier in the movie, it was set up that Yu Jun. I again, my apologies for messing these names up.
That one's definitely hard because you hear Sumi and you hear Soo Yeon, so
Yeah, that one-
that's
yeah, that
settled. But the dad's name and the stepmom's name
The
is never
father's
really
name, I think, is mentioned one time.
maybe one time, and
Right.
it's so quick that I don't even remember it.
Right.
Yeah.
But the
You don't-
stepmom's name is never mentioned.
And you never get their family last name Abe.
Yeah.
Right.
That never get. That's actually a note in the credits afterward.
Yeah.
But it was set up earlier that the stepmother's husband and stepmother's brother and his wife are coming over for dinner, in which they do, and that family dinner is the exact.
Did we
example.
get the? I think there's a point where she finds the photos before this, or is that after
The
this?
photos are and there's also the creepy shed, which they call a warehouse.
Yeah.
That part's also in which I'm not sure where that warehouse
Sumi's
is. It's
going
not
through
in the
these-
main building.
Right.
Yeah.
It's somewhere off of it.
Yeah, she goes through these family photos, and it's slowly, like, it starts with it's the mom and the dad, and it's Sumi, and then it's the mom, dad, Sumi, and Soo Yeon, and then we see the mom progressively get kind of looking weaker and everything. And then the one who becomes the stepmom just kind of shows up,
And then Yunju just
and then
right
gets
there.
a little bit closer and a little bit closer.
Well, also from the photos, you can discern that they work together at some sort of
Yeah.
hospital.
This is
which
we
which
kind of
also
find
explains
out
how they can afford this estate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We kind of find out that you can kind of see that the mom is kind of getting ill, and that that Yoonjun was
A nurse.
and was probably the nurse that was taking care of her.
Yeah.
and that's when yeah.
And her brother's also in one of those pictures, isn't he?
Yeah, you see the brother and his
wife. Yeah.
and then we get to the
We get to the dinner scene.
The dinner.
This is when the movie goes, let's have fun.
Yeah.
It's time to get wild.
Yeah, this
Shit starts getting really weird.
This is so uncomfortable.
So, again, like I said, it's like on one side of the table you have mania, and on the other side of the table you have depression, because Yu Jun is just telling this really like almost nondescript story about him like getting it, like I can't remember if it was a river or a lake, and like it kept taking his clothes on and off and on and off.
This guy, when it rains, he would lose his mind and take
Okay,
all
it
his
was
clothes off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the brother and his wife are just like from the very beginning. Before I think even before she starts recanting this story that never happened, they look just completely uncomfortable.
Yeah,
just
they're
sitting
so
there.
uncomfortable, and they're like, "Why the fuck are we even here?"
And she starts telling this like absurd story that like really doesn't make any sense. And she keeps going on and on and on, and then she starts talking about another story. Don't you remember this? Don't you remember this? And the brother's like, no. I don't remember any of this.
And she was like, "What were you talking about? Of course this happened."
And then his wife starts having fucking seizures.
yeah, his wife has a seizure, and
So the actress there is Lee Sung-bi, and what a trooper! Holy shit! Like, first of all, that looked
real.
yeah,
like, I wonder if like, it's one of those where it's like, did she actually have a seizure and they just fucking filmed it?
Yeah.
She was like
the-
frothing at the mouth, shaking violently.
The vomit scene
Yeah.
where she
Oh, man.
she pukes and then rolls her part of her head in the
Yeah.
puke.
yeah.
Like that was way
Very, very
realer than
uncomfortable.
it should have been.
And like both men are trying to hold her down and put pills in her mouth.
yeah.
That
and
was like really
she's like
uncomfortable.
knocking the pills over, and then the scene kind of ends with Yoonjun like screaming,
Yeah.
watching this.
But she looks underneath part of the kitchen
The
cabinets.
wife that's having the seizure,
Yeah,
she like bends
looks like-
backwards
bends
and looks.
and sees something, and that starts calming her down.
Right.
And it's like, okay, what the fuck's going on?
Right.
Yeah, and then we cut to them in the car. wife is just kind of like her head's over to the side and she just goes, I saw a girl under the sink.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to that scene and then we see her bending backwards looking back and then we see under the sink and there's a fucking girl there and she's like all covered in this black goo.
Mm-hmm.
And goddamn, the first time I watched this, that scared the ever-loving shit out of me.
Same.
Good Lord. I was able to prepare for it because that was the one like thing that I clearly remember.
Right.
Was this scene. And Jesus Christ, that scared the ever-loving shit out of me.
What the fuck is that?
Holy shit, did you see that? It's like Jesus Christ. Man. God, that was so fucking effective. Oh, we missed a scene where Sumi is like showing Soo-yeon the pictures, and then she notices that Soo-yeon has like bruises, and then she goes and argues some more with the stepmom about that.
Yeah,
and then we show it's Yoojun. The next scene is like Yoojun like Jesus Christ, Yoonju cleaning up, right? And she's like cleaning up everywhere, and then she like slowly like looks underneath the sink and you're like, oh shit, nothing's there. And then she goes to clean up some more and she sees this like hair clip or something, like it almost looked like a it was really long and like weird looking, and she goes to slowly pick it up. And it's right there by where the sink is, and this arm shoots out.
That was frame. Like, I think if that frame had been an inch off, either in any direction, that was so perfectly framed because her wrist, where that hand comes out, is center fucking frame.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. So very, very effective. Yeah. That's technically
all of these jump scares are earned. All of them.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because they build the tension effectively. Like it's not like an out of nowhere thing, and it's never a fake out scare.
No,
like
there are no fake out scares in this movie.
If you get scared, it's because something is happening on the screen. There's no like cat jumping out or anything.
I would like to make a small tangent. So
sure,
there is an American remake of this. It is called The Uninvited.
Okay,
it came out, I believe, in 2009. To give an example about where I think one exceedingly worked and one did not have a chance to be able to work at the same level. This movie, I think, clocks in at an hour 52 minutes. You almost have 2 hours worth of movie. Uninvited comes in at 82 minutes, at an hour and 20, not even an hour and a half.
Right.
You don't have the time to build up the tension to hit people with a jump scare that will pay off.
Yeah.
And so like the short, like this movie goes on a full half hour. None of that time is wasted.
Right.
None of it. I don't think there's a single reel from this movie or a single frame from this movie that I would cut because I think this thing is so perfectly paced.
Yeah, I was about to say
beat to beat, scene to scene.
Yeah, which is fine because there are some deleted scenes, and so they changed around some things.
Yeah, it's methodical and the pacing.
But I think they cut the things that they cut. I don't think that they add too much, or they just make it too sad.
Right.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No. I was gonna I was about to say the same thing Jay said. Where like the pacing, it's slow, but it's methodical, and there's payoffs for it.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever too slow.
It's not too slow
to where you get bored.
The timing is they know how to build up the tension and then give you the payoff for it, and they can't do that in 82 minutes. It's impossible.
The stepmother the next day finds
the pictures,
the pictures, and then she also finds that one of her birds are dead,
and also that she's been scratched out of all the pictures.
Yeah, her face has been scratched out
of all the pictures. Well, I think the dad that night discovers the dead birds, and he goes to bury them, I think.
Well, there was also
and then the stepmom freaks out while he's doing all of this.
There was an earlier scene, even before like the birds get mentioned, where she was it was that night.
Yeah.
Which also part of that scene was the fritzing television, and like I think I wrote somewhere that's like Samara. No.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She was like staring at the stepmom was just like sitting up staring at a fritzed out television.
Or Sadako if you're more original inclined. However, but she opens the door of the fridge, gets some water, but then she sees like a butcher's package, and she opens it up, and it's just obliterated meat.
Yeah,
like it's just
she drops it and starts screaming.
Yeah.
Too.
There's also something else that I forgot. But oh well. Like
One of the sisters started petting one of the birds, and then didn't she just choke it out?
I think that's something that we see later.
Hang off on that.
Okay.
Hang off on that. See, so the dead bird, for some reason, and I don't know if this is a thing in Korea. It's like when I think of dead parakeets, I think of the parakeet in the mine. And if the bird dies, we've gone too far. And it like I don't know if that was intended, if that is a cultural thing for Korea.
Could
but
be.
with the bird dead, okay, we've gone too far.
Yeah.
Now this is when this stuff is going to naturally ramp up, and it's going to get bad.
Right.
And
boy does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. She tries to she yelling and screaming at the girls, trying to figure out which one of you did it. And she ends up like dragging Soo Young and locking her in this wardrobe.
And the other sister is somewhere else in this weird house.
The other sister is nowhere to be found. The dad is nowhere to be found. But like it's a very uncomfortable scene because she like physically like just
shoves her into this armoire.
Yeah. And she closes the door and locks it for just a little bit, and then she was like, if you apologize, I'll open it up. And she like opens the door,
eventually whimpers out an apology.
Yeah, and she says, I'm sorry, and opens the door. Is like, okay, are you gonna tell me who did it? And then Soo-yeon didn't know anything about this, so she's locks her back in again and just walks off. Yeah, and then this is where Sumi comes in.
She was asleep in another room.
Asleep in another room.
Yeah,
and confronts her father about the abuse.
Does she go to the closet first, or
she opens up the closet and gets Sumi in.
She goes. I'm so sorry. I didn't hear you.
Yeah. And she confronts her dad's like, the stepmom. She's always getting on Soo-yeon. She's always abusing her. She's doing all these things, and you don't do anything. And the father just finally snaps and says,
1 hour, 16 minutes, 57 seconds.
Soo-yeon is dead. You have to stop this. And from this point on, we don't see Soo-yeon.
Yep.
So yeah.
Well, even more so than that, like the shaky cam on Soo-young.
Yeah.
Right.
When Sumi is we are seeing her in the frame, and every time it cuts to her, like it's very shaky.
Yeah.
But it's but stable when it's on the other two. And they're like, oh shit. So yeah, but Sumi doesn't believe this. She
tells her sister it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. And then there's a scene with the dad, and he's on the phone again. He's like, I need
your help.
I need your help. I can't do this alone.
I can't do it anymore.
And then Sumi wakes up the next morning with a note from the dad saying, hey, I have to go into town. Just hang in there.
Shit gets weird while he's gone.
Then dream logic just goes all over the place. We see Yeonju dragging a bloodied sack around the house.
121.52. That's a lot of blood.
Yeah.
A minute before that, though, there's a Sam Raimi cam because the camera just kind of shoots forward real quick.
Right.
And that was the first thing I thought of. But there, again, like going back to the art of filmmaking, there's a lot of choices in here that were made by artists. And I think they pay off. I think, again, the use of lighting, the sound design, again, camera tricks and things that are going there.
Did you notice that when she was dragging the bag, like after she stopped dragging it, that there was a shot in the hallway where there were like two different paths the bag had been driven? Like there was a fork, there was a bloody fork in the path, which I was like, that's weird.
Yeah. So yeah, then the stepmom and Sumi get into a physical altercation. They basically beat the shit out of each other.
Scissors are involved.
Yeah, Sumi stabs.
Teapot is involved.
Yeah.
124.45 diegetic jump scare noises. The teapot like whistling.
Yeah,
it's almost as loud as a storm siren.
Yeah,
like that thing is insanely loud.
Oh yeah, she's looking for a knife because
the stepmom had drug. We see the stepmom had drugged the bag into
the
closet.
Which is now in a completely different location.
Yeah.
And
because Sumi had found the blade
bag.
sack like in the hallway or something, and then they fight, and then she falls. She gets knocked out or something. And
she gets knocked out,
and then she finds the the bag in the closet. And
She
it
can't
has some
untie
scissors.
it. She can't untie it, so she has to find a knife or scissors.
Yeah, she gets scissors.
Yeah.
Then she stabs the stepmother in the hand with the scissors.
Yeah.
127.55. Mommy Dearest, the Korean version.
Yeah. Then they fight some more, and the stepmom knocks her out again and drags her into a hallway, and then drags this humongous statue, which is of like the upper half of a person.
Yeah, it's a
with
bust
with their hands covering their face.
Yeah.
Which is thematically appropriate. Also, a little trivia I saw. This statue was too heavy for the actual stepmom actress to lift, so they had to like put wires on it to lift it up for her, because it was actually like super super heavy.
Goes back again to this kind of natural and unnatural. This thing is too heavy for her to lift. So how is
she's
she
like
able
dragging
to lift
it, and then all of a sudden she like lifts it above her head.
So she's Ultimate Warrior, fucking body press slamming.
She's like. This is gonna end right now.
Yeah, she's like right after the stabbing in the hand. There's like a brief moment where she goes, "We've gone too far."
Yeah,
basically. And then she's got the bust. She's holding the bust over her.
Mm-hmm. And then the dad comes home, and we hear a crash, and then he comes in, and there's no stepmom.
Yeah,
and it's just Sumi there with like these pieces of the broken bust all around.
And then the stepmom shows up.
And then the actual stepmom comes up.
1:34:30, and this is the last note I wrote on the movie goes another 20 minutes.
Yeah,
but at this point I had to focus on everything that was going on, because the notion that Soo-yeon is dead, okay,
sure,
but that not only is the sister not real,
right,
this whole time the stepmother hasn't been real,
which actually is a really awesome swerve, because the stepmom, being a figment of her imagination, makes you believe that she can see the other sister, which
so the dad never interacts with the other sister, but the stepmom does. So it throws you off for a while, even though there are weird things that happen. You go, well, she's interacting with her, so of course. And then we find out it's not just ghosts that we're dealing with. This girl also has dissociative identity disorder.
Well, up until this point, that could have been the whole thing that was going on for the most part. And then it also explains the interaction between why the father character was so distant from his wife.
Yeah.
In that situation, the stepmom.
Yeah.
Because he was very distant with her, because anytime he was engaging with her, it was actually the 12 or 13-year-old daughter he was interacting with.
Yeah.
Being
so she is hallucinating Soo-yeon, but she is also at times
adopting the
personality of what she sees as
her stepmom,
as the stepmom,
right?
And we cut back to all these times. So the reason that things were very awkward during that dinner is because Sumi was making up things that never happened with the stepmom's brother,
right? The first dinner actually to me is even worse, because the father is there, while his daughter is doing this conversation between herself and the imagined stepmother.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sister.
Everything is falling into place.
Right.
Yeah.
Except the sister of the brother of the seeing a dead person.
Yes.
Right.
So at this point, we are kind of like, well, so everything was a hallucination. So all of this was bullshit. Like, it's just her being crazy.
And then it kind of like, it's heavily implied. You get a backstory. It's heavily implied that, that the relationship with the stepmom didn't work out, and she's been gone for a while.
It's quite possible,
because he called her.
It's hard to
see. I took that as they were still together, but there was so much tension between Sumi and Yeonju that she couldn't be around.
Yeah,
it could be that too.
They were worried that if you took her out of the equation, she would normalize.
There is a couple of parts, because we really don't know. I read in trivia that like this whole thing, even with the flashbacks, is like 3 days, but I really don't believe that.
It's hard to gauge time in this movie, because like the pictures of him with what would be his stepwife and his current wife at the time, his hair is way more gray.
Yeah,
like long
his
period.
hair is gray now, and then in the flashbacks that we're about to talk about, his hair is like brown,
right? Which
like
is
black brown.
Crazy considering the pictures of the girls in there. They don't look that much older.
Yeah.
So like, how much time has passed in between all of this going on?
Overall, there is like a lot of like dream logic with this, where it messes with time, but. So then we see Sumi is in the hospital, is back in the hospital.
Right.
The stepmom is just kind of seeing in like a waiting room, and then you see the dad and the doctor talking.
This is when we get the last flashback of the.
This is where we get
whole reveal.
We kind of get the whole flashback. Well, it's kind of interspersed with also the stepmom going back to the house.
Right.
We also see Sumi sitting like on a bed in her room, in the hospital, and earlier in the movie they were both like whistling, and they whistled this specific tune that they said was like their mom's favorite tune, and Sumi hears this whistling and she's like, "Oh, Soo-yeon is doing that," and basically is the movie telling you that this is Soo-yeon signaling that she's about to do what she's about to do. I guess we can tell that part and then tell the flashback, because it is kind of back and forth.
However you want to do it.
So the stepmom is back at the house. She like hears a noise or something and goes into the room with the wardrobe and turns on the light. At the back of the room there's the window with like covers, with like not covers, drapes over it. And she sees like I don't know what the leg, hand, could be something, and it just kind of like shoots up into the thing, and and like, oh shit, and she opens it up and there's nothing in there, and then the light turns off and the wardrobe slowly opens up, and she walks over for some reason and opens up the other door, and then the girl that we saw earlier, who we're kind of pretty sure this is Soo-yeon's ghost now, climbs out. And then it cuts to like an outside shot, and we just hear the stepmom screaming.
That's the end of the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
In time.
Right.
In
time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where that movie.
But interspersed with this is the flashback of what happens. We see of what happened on that kind of fateful day. We see the mom, the real mom of the girls, like looking very sickly. She's looking out the window. The girls are sitting on a side by side on a swing set. We saw this swing set earlier, and she and she's looking out the window, and she sees the dad and the future stepmom jump out of the car, and they're all happy and having fun, and you're like, oh, they're fucking, because the stepmom walks in, and then the soon to be stepmom walks in, and the dad just kind of slows down and looks at the girls and. Almost just shrugs his shoulders like it's like Jesus Christ. Then Soo-yeon's in the room where the mom was. She's asleep, and she wakes up because she hears this noise in the wardrobe, and she opens the doors of the wardrobe, and her mom has hung herself. And also taking a bottle of pills. She's like freaking out, like, "Oh, mom!" And her mom is still, connected, hanging to the wardrobe, and she pulls the wardrobe over,
right, because the weight of the body like kind of slumps forward, and pulls the wardrobe,
and
on
she's
top
also
of,
like pulling her too, because she's like, oh my god,
and pulls the wardrobe on top of herself.
So, and everybody in the whole entire house, and even outside the house, hears this huge thump. Sumi wakes up. The dad is outside at the car, and he kind of hears something. The soon-to-be stepmom, she hears something.
She goes upstairs.
She goes up and look, and she finds Soo-yeon underneath the wardrobe, and she just
trying to claw her way out.
God, that shot is so
you can see her fingers right up underneath.
Yeah, and they're bloody.
Yeah,
or they get bloody as it goes on.
And there's this look on the stepmom's face, like, oh,
yeah. She just kind of walks out, but then she gets to like the stairs, and she stops, and she turns around, and like she's gonna go back,
right.
And as soon as she turns around, Sumi is there, and they basically talk shit at each other. It's like, why are you even up here? You're not mom, so you have no reason to be up here.
Right.
Basically just gives her shit because, like, more or less tells her, like, I know what's going on, but, like, and you're not my mom, so fuck off.
And then she walks off outside.
And then she goes off outside, and the soon-to-be stepmom goes,
okay, fuck it.
Okay, just remember one day you're going to regret this moment right here. So Sumi goes outside and she goes to the
pier. Yeah.
And we see the future stepmom walk out onto that balcony area and staring at her. And then, that's kind of the movie. Then we cut back to Sumi laying in her bed in the mental institution.
And she goes, "Hey," talking to her sister.
Yeah.
Still.
And that's the fucking movie.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ. It could have been bleaker, though, because the original ending was that Sumi took pills to kill herself to be with her mom and her sister. They cut that because they were like, man, that is too bleak.
So yeah, there's the scene where she's like, "I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you," when the stepmom had trapped her in the closet, and for her, she was just a ghost, but she didn't know that, and so she didn't hear her when she got basically murdered. I'd say couldn't claw her way out. She couldn't hear her. So that callback happens. Yeah, Chekhov's closet. We had several scenes with the closet, the stand-up closet, armoire, whatever you want to call it. There was the weird clothes all in the line. The father, when she mentioned that earlier, said we don't talk about that armoire.
Yeah. He says I thought we said we weren't going to
talk about that because that's
which
why
your daughter and your wife was killed by that fucking wardrobe. Why? I would not keep that fucking thing. It would be thrown on a fire. I would drag it out to that pier and throw it in that goddamn lake. There is no fucking way I would keep that thing. It has to have scratches, bloody scratches of her daughter, of her daughter's fingernails on it. What the fuck is wrong with you to keep that shit? Insane, absolutely insane.
I like that, and what Jay brought up earlier when we're talking about the dinner scene with the seizure and everything like that. Like up until that point, and then after, you think retroactively, you think back to the movie where this could have all been in her head this whole time, except for that one scene where the brother's wife sees something, and then at the pretty much the end of the movie, or at least the end of the stepmom, where she goes to the armoire and there's the sister there.
That scene saves that.
Yeah.
Because if you have that ending, when you've hard shifted into this is a young girl who went crazy, if you then shift back again without any setup, there's a fucking ghost in play too.
Yeah.
If you don't have that scene where that's someone who maybe it's triggered by being ill, maybe it's triggered by being close
even at
to
that
death,
point you could have went, well,
like
it's
that.
just her, she was hallucinating while she was having a seizure.
Right, could have been too. Also, I read into maybe up until that point, going back to the first time I watched this movie, going up to that point, my assumption was that I think I assumed, and again, this is 2006, 2007 when I watched this movie the first time. I assumed that the stepfather had been working in a mental institution, and that his wife was going there because things were going downhill for him, and met the nurse, and that the brother dated and married one of the patients, and then so she was also off, and that's the reason why the stepmom was off during the dinner initially, and then why the sister-in-law had seizures and all these other things.
Because it's so confusing, this movie leads you to try and figure out what the fuck is going on so often.
And it keeps you off foot so that you can't figure it out until they tell you.
Because every time you think you've got it, or you think you may be close to it, they shift and they're like, nope,
and they explain everything in 60 seconds later on.
And you end up, I think they do a pretty good job of explaining everything that happened. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. There were, besides that alternate ending, there was also some scenes where the people from the mental institution had told the dad to put up cameras all around, and that's why there's one scene where we get the dad. That's kind of a leftover scene where the dad's looking in, holding a camera.
Oh, okay.
And there were going to be times where we cut back to the people from the mental institution watching everything, and you clearly see Sumi is talking to Soo Young, but from their perspective, she's just talking to Air.
Right.
And I think that it's a good thing that they took that out, because otherwise, like that's one less reveal that you would have had. There's also
a reveal that happens before its time.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
again, the timing and pacing of this movie cannot be understated. It is almost fuck it. It's perfect. The timing on this movie is perfect. And
Yeah.
I usually, when a movie creeps around 2 hours, is usually when I start losing it. No, minute 1 to minute 1 hour 54.
There's strong use of color, like what the characters are wearing is very important, like what color they're wearing. Sumi, especially in that first hospital scene, she's wearing white. That's supposed to instill tension. We've got,
It also has the backup of innocence as well, because
True.
she is often wearing like either white or a very light color of that innocence. You've got gray with the dad. He's often wearing like a shade of gray or anything, and that symbolizes
Browns
like
too.
like apathy.
Earth tones. Yeah.
The stepmom from and we really don't even know if like this is really how the stepmom is the thing, because we only see like the idea of her, but the idea that Sumi has of her is often wearing red, and that symbolizes the violence and rage that she has, the evilness of her. But when we see the real Yunju, she is wearing black.
Black. Okay.
I think it's black or dark colors at the very least,
right.
and that symbolizes like guilt that she has.
Oh, okay.
And it does seem like she is actually guilty about what she did.
Right.
But yeah, so I think those are very interesting. So the reason that I picked this one is I was going back and forth between a couple of things, and we'll talk about that probably in a couple of episodes from now. I picked this because I wanted to have a good introduction that I think to like more specifically Korean horror, but broadly Asian horror.
Right.
I thought that we needed like a good representative of that. I had a couple of ideas for this, but I really fell back on this. I'm glad it's been a very long time since I've watched this movie, so I'm glad that I was actually that I feel like this is actually a good
It gave
pick.
me a reason to watch it again, because again, I was talking to Brady about like earlier in the early to mid 2000s, I was on a kick where I bought like every Korean and Japanese horror movie that came out on DVD at the time, and I'd only watched it once. And that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So to watch it again and to be reminded of how good it is, because a lot of people now especially don't understand that, like when Ring came out, when The Ring came out, the American version of The Ring came out, it started, regardless of how you feel about American versions of Korean and Japanese horror movies, or any sort of interpretation of those films at all, it started a boom of people being interested in the original content.
Yeah.
And that's when Blockbuster would put out the Japanese version of The Grudge first. After The Grudge came out, after the American version of The Grudge came out and Ring 2 was coming out about the same time, they put out Ju-on and Ringu over in America anyway, came out to video stores or whatnot, and started a boom of supernatural, mostly horror movies from overseas. And I was just like all about it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those Japanese ones that are very good, but I think an obvious one would have been like Ringu or Ju-on or something like that. But I wanted to go kind of off the beaten path. I wanted to get away from, and there are a lot of good Japanese horror movies outside of even those two.
Well, yeah, of course. Even older ones.
Yeah, that are in that
but
kind
not
of
Robo Geisha.
No, I wanted to go towards, I really like I really like Korean cinema.
I do too.
And this one had a very strong effect on me when I first watched it. So I wanted to,
one and The Eye. The original The Eye, Korean version, of course.
Yeah.
Not the American version isn't bad, but some cultural differences cannot necessarily ruin a movie, but a lot of the subtleties that are there are taken away because most people think American audiences are dumb.
Yeah. Most of those remakes are not good. I think some of them are, like The Ring.
The Ring is decent.
I will stand by this. I believe The Ring is better than Ringu. in my opinion. Like the original one for one.
I think they're both equally good.
I think-
Yeah, I think that they're close enough.
I think
with that.
Ju-on and The Grudge I think are both equal. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
They're both on par with one another.
And those are really like the rest of most of the other ones that were when they got this like, you know, Asian horror remake thing. Most of them are not as good as the original.
Look at
They're either really bad or they are fine.
Yeah.
They're just not. They just don't hold up. To
most of the time they are really bad.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my example, and the Jay will tell you his. I don't know if you've seen the Japanese version, but Dark Water is fucking terrible.
Oh yeah.
The American version of Jennifer Connelly at Dark Water is fucking shit. Jay knows one that he's referred to before.
What are we referencing here?
The Pulse.
Oh, okay. I was actually going to also like see, this is me. Hold on. I don't know if you can hear this but this is me co-signing on what Jody just said. Cairo is fantastic. It's again, I think the runtime is longer, so they have a lot more time to build these things up. There's a silent tension that runs throughout the entirety of that movie. And then when big things happen, they're earned. Pulse starts out with a jump scare that happens 2 minutes in before I think you even get to the title, and then just keeps hitting you in the head before you have any chance to recuperate from it. You can't just go, and then, like at some point, I'm worn out.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm scared anymore. I'm fucking tired.
Well, that was also the time that like horror movies like in that time period were just not great. That was a bad time for American horror.
Darkness Falls.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
The
even
Tooth Fairy. But yeah.
well, even quote unquote American horror, which technically I guess you could call it Australian horror because Winnell and Juan are both from Australia, but like fucking Saw suffered from the exact same thing as well. Like Saw builds up its shit and pays it off. Starting with Saw 2, which Saw 2 is still, in my opinion, good.
Yes.
The real dip is Saw 4.
Oh,
because
yeah.
now
I
it's
think
literally just how can
after
we
the
kill
first
these
three.
people?
Yeah, after the first three.
It's Final Destination with Tobin Bell going, "Oh, and play a game."
But also the Pulse, it stopped them. They stopped remaking Japanese and Korean.
Yeah, they
horror.
did so bad.
Well,
Yeah.
they did
Even-
2 Pulse sequels.
Even this
Pulse
one,
2 and
I didn't
Pulse
even
3.
I didn't even know that this one I didn't even know that The Uninvited was a remake of this. I vaguely remembered I looked at I saw the cover and I was like, oh, okay, that I think I remember that.
It looked very bland. I've never seen it.
Is very, most of the time it was very bland, but like I think that it's kind of like Bong Joon-ho said, like people are kind of hung up on, I don't want to watch something where I have to read the subtitles. I think you got to get over that because like you're missing out on a lot of good stuff.
It's an annoying. It's another one of the reasons why I knew I was probably going to watch this twice, because I do like being able to hear dialogue and see movement without having to dart down to the bottom of the screen and look at that.
Yeah.
I think stylistically, when they do it in things like John Wick, I think that's an overall style to those movies. But whenever I have subtitles, it just distracts me from the film. The only subtitled movie I can say is perfectly subtitled is Stephen Chow's Shaolin Soccer, the first time they did it, because the translation is terrible. It doesn't change the story, but there are some usages of words that are wrong. There's some words that are just like not the word that's supposed to be there, and it actually accentuates the comedy because you have this actual comedy by performers, and then you have this comedy of errors going down in the lower third, which is just absolutely amazing. But yeah, I knew part of the reason why I watched this a second time was I knew I was going to miss things with subtitles going on, and like the really the lighting effects, like I brought that up, it was one of the reasons why it stood out for me. That's because I missed it the first time.
Yeah.
And then seeing it a second time and being able to, okay, I'm following along with this. I know what they've already said. Now I can actually appreciate the art and artistry on this one. My little super note from this one, or my little like kind of, hey, this is kind of neat thing. So Kim Ji-woon originally wanted a separate actress, Jun Ji-hyun, to play Soo-mi. However, she refused because she read the script and thought it was too scary. The next film that she took after the rejection, which came out in the same year, was a Korean horror film called The Uninvited.
That's funny.
has absolutely nothing to do with a Tale of Two Sisters or 2009's Uninvited. The movie's name was The Uninvited.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, Ethan, you obviously didn't watch this movie, but what did our explanation of the plot summary of the movie, how did that make you feel?
Listening to y'all, I had a better experience listening to this than the 87 minutes I watched Two Sisters.
I'll be honest, man, from what you've said, that's a low bar. Like,
Exactly.
that doesn't make me feel better. But
The things that y'all are talking about, like the different intricacies of the movie, the way things are set up, and the build up with everything, it makes me want to watch it.
no, that's good. That's good.
Makes me want to experience.
Well, guess
a
what?
Well,
good.
one of us can actually like loan you the DVD,
Yeah.
so you make
In
sure
fact,
that you watch
tomorrow,
the right one.
bring both DVDs, and whichever one he wants to accept, that's fine. But
Mine
you're
has
watching this.
special features.
I don't think mine has very much
I
in
don't
the way
have
of special
I don't
features.
have a DVD player.
Well, fuck you then.
Remember, you brought your
Wait, you
Blu-ray
don't have a PS4?
No.
He
I
has
have
a
a PS5.
Do you
And he
had a
kept-
PS4 though, right?
My brother bought it off me.
Well, you'll just never watch this movie unless you pay money for it. Actually, it's not. It's actually not available on Amazon Prime, so
Yeah,
you have to like
I
get
know.
a.
I
I
saw
think an
it.
AMC Plus.
AMC Plus
It's AMC
subscription.
Plus.
Yeah.
DVD players are $25.
You never know. Maybe somebody will legally upload it onto YouTube. You could watch
Who
it that
knows?
way.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So yeah, like I
And
said,
then go to jail
I
or hell.
Piracy.
I picked this because I remembered it being like a really good introduction to this. I think it's It's an interesting movie because it does several things. It has ghosts and the spookums, but it also deals with like the
Mental anguish.
mental anguish and that. So like you come in for the ghost stuff, but then you get thrown for a loop because it's a split personality thing too.
It really stands alone because I don't remember any other Korean at this time period,
Yeah.
especially any Korean or Japanese movie that really like hits this note like so hard.
It makes you think, oh, this is just a haunted house movie, and then nope,
But it's not.
It's a lot more than that.
trauma.
Do you guys want to know, like, the bare minimum of
Please
the
tell
other
me.
movie?
I want to know.
So
You've
this-
got 5 minutes or less.
This author is
Okay.
told that, hey, your father's passed away, and it's time for you and your sister to
This is Two Sisters.
Yes.
two sisters.
2019.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
time for you and your sister to inherit his house.
Uh-huh.
Time for you to inherit the house.
When they were young, however, when they were younger,
We're gonna do a
One
whole
of-
other episode inside this episode of
What?
Ethan
No.
going through.
wha-
Hey, I told him he's got 5 minutes.
one of the sisters
4 minutes, 27
had a
seconds.
very
sir.
bad experience while entering this under the staircase bedroom
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
where she became traumatized.
Okay.
Okay.
And so she is then put into a mental facility
Okay.
Sure.
to overcome her barriers and grief and just this mental anguish. So she goes to pick up her sister. They go to this house.
Okay.
And while in this house, they start seeing ghosts.
Okay.
Okay. They just start seeing ghosts.
Yeah,
They
they
see
start
ghosts.
seeing ghosts and weird things
Is this the
happening.
house they're inheriting? Or?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And they also start the main character also starts having some type of like weird mental thing happening where it's almost like her and her sister's lives have like completely swapped.
Okay.
Sure.
And so
Freaky
and
Friday, but Korean horror.
in a way,
I mean,
Malaysian horror,
Malaysian
sir.
horror, my bad.
and the whole big reveal is that the main character was the one that was put into the mental facility, and she's put herself in her sister's shoes.
What happened in
This-
between, though?
Ju-
Nothing?
Her
Was there a lot of nothing that
a
happened?
lot of nothing.
Yeah.
This feels like the person who wrote this movie got like a secondhand plot synopsis from somebody who hasn't watched A Tale of Two Sisters in like 15 years.
Yeah.
Like 15 years ago, they watched it.
Yeah.
And then they told this person about it.
Uh-huh.
And then they go, well, that sounds like a pretty interesting story. Let me write it. But then they waited like another 3 years to write it. So they were a little fuzzy on the details that the other person did. So they were just like, I'm just gonna fill in the gaps.
I'm not going to read Dune. I'm going to have somebody tell me what Dune is, and then I'm going to make a movie about it.
When I wanted to make A Tale of Two Sisters, I said, let's just have Lauren Bacall beat the shit out of a person for 50 minutes. And I thought that'd be funny. Everybody didn't think that was funny.
I was really disappointed because we couldn't get Dustin Hoffman as the stepmother.
Kyle MacLachlan refused.
I said, you can play a 14-year-old girl. You have the range.
So I went to Marlon and said, Marlon, how are we going to do this? And he said, I don't really know how we're going to go about this, but I really need to see Brian Dennehy in a dress. Shangwa and Hungarian, again the folk tale that this story was based off of, has been made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a seventh attempt either at telling the story or telling a story off of it. First in 1924, then again in 1936, 56, 62, 72, this 2003, and then 2009.
Yeah. I believe the original ending of Sumi killing herself is more in line with the original story. The original story.
He got five. I'm gonna take two because I read a brief synopsis of the story. So a mother and father have two children. One, the first one's named Roseflower. The second one is named Red Lotus. Zhanghua and Hungrian. Then the mother dies, and a stepmother comes in, and a stepmother, and so the father's like the girls are about to come of age, and want to make sure that they and stepmother's like, oh no, that money is meant for my son. Son, I want you to cut up a rat. And I want you to leave it in one of the young girls' beds, and that'll prove that she had a miscarriage because she's been dealing in fucking heathen fornication, and that happens. And so the sister, which I believe is the second Red Lotus, Lotus goes out to the lake, and the son pushes her in the lake and drowns her, and then the older sister finds out she drowned in the lake, and while searching for her, she also drowns in the same lake. Then the city is beset by a rash of murders of mayors. Like every day a new mayor is put in place, and every day he dies. And then finally this young mayor from outside of the city comes in, and the ghosts of the children approach him and he goes, what is the problem, children? It's like, oh, you're the first ones who've actually just wanted to talk to us instead of be totally spooked. Thank you very much for that. So our stepmother said that I was a whore because I had a miscarriage, and then her son drowned me, and then my sister died. Do an autopsy on the thing, and they cut the thing open, and this was a rat the whole time. And so the stepmother and the stepson are condemned to death by the city, and then the father, who didn't know anything about what was going on, they come to him. The ghosts of his daughters come to him and say, "We will be together soon." Oh, and he marries a third time and she has twins, and they're both named Roseflower and Red Lotus. The end.
Wow, how did they pull A Tale of Two Sisters out of that?
I don't know.
I was a bit dismissive, and I apologize for that part about it, but I think. It's interesting seeing like folk tales and fairy tales from other cultures.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's how visceral they get with like the Grimm's fairy tales go way darker. And before they get Disneyfied.
If you get the OG versions, yeah.
Well, the original fucking Snow White, the queen died they put red hot iron shoes on her and made her dance to death. Jesus.
Because her feet were on fire.
Yeah. But I think the sisters' names in the movie are like an alternate name for Lotus.
Rose and Lotus. Yes.
Yeah, Rose and Lotus.
Yeah, Sumi is Rose. Suyun. I almost made it all the way, to, at least with the sisters. Yeah, it is Lotus.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, unless anybody has anything else that they just have to get out about this movie, I'm looking at you, Ethan. We
would really like your
we're gonna wrap this up. I hope that first of all, I really hope that you watch this movie before we talked about it.
They will be warned of spoilers. Do not worry.
Yeah. But
also, I hope you watch this movie and not Two Sisters.
Yes, A Tale of Two Sisters from in America it'll be like 2005, but 2003 or 2005.
If you see 2019, get away from it.
It will have the cover of it will have two girls sitting on a sofa with like blood all over white dresses, and then it will be a man with gray hair and a younger woman standing behind them, looking very somber.
I have also seen some other posts. One that was like promoting this. It's the stepmother, almost in all black except her facial. It's like a black and white, and then like where her coat would open up is the inside of the dresser. So there you might see that one as well.
But check that out, and tune in next week where we will talk about another movie. Night of the Creeps, I believe.
Yep, Night of the Creeps will be my submission for
not
this.
Not Creeps. That's a different movie. Made a different time period.
Night of the Creeps.
Also not
Ethan.
Night of the Living Dead.
Well, we're gonna be watching this together, so I think it's gonna be really hard for me.
You'll find a way.
Yeah, you'll figure out a way. You'll be looking on your phone and somehow watch Chuds. I don't know.
No. Now so the three of us will go over to Ethan's house and watch the movie while he's on his phone watching Chuds. And then
Chud.
Chuds.
Plural.
Chud 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Chud 2 has one of the best like fucking sequel names.
Yeah.
What was I can't remember though. What was it? Chud 2.
Hang on.
Something's back.
Tune in next week when we reveal the answer to that. Jody, give us a thing.
Whiskey and wrestling. Jason Holder, Michael Hill, they talk about wrestling. They talk about NXT, PLEs, the Whiskey of the Week. Listen to their show, especially if you like missed the pay-per-view Bad Blood. It's pretty. Get caught up.
Yeah.
They're on all the pods.
Jay, give us somebody.
Fear. It's all around you. Jody Kite, otherwise known as J.L. Kite, will explore that in Fearology, a personal and professional trip through the world of horror, hosted by Mr. Kite as he explores. Are you still working on the next one?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, there we go. But yes, available on Spotify majorly.
All right, Ethan.
The Completed Podcast, a Magic the Gathering-centered podcast hosted by Christopher Vega, Brendan Scott Tanner, and Brandon Smith. They go into deep dives on professional Magic the Gathering tournaments and the state of Magic as it is. Check them out.
Back to you, Jay.
Oh, okay. Magic the Gathering is available at MacNarb Gaming in Goshen, Mississippi. Yes. God Emperor of Gaming Cameron Spanier will sell you Magic cards. He's even sold cards now, I believe, to one Brady Davis. This is very fun. We're gonna see
I
how
have
that
no
goes.
recollection of that.
There you go. No recollection of that. Oh, my God. You're the Sue Me of Magic.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It was my evil stepmother who actually bought this card.
More importantly, though, he has bought the Nightcrawler pack for Marvel Champions. So finally, that's good.
Finally
Nice.
deck build with that.
That's gonna be fun times for you as well. My copy of the Canvas expansion Finishing Touches is also waiting for me tomorrow when I can pay for it. So that's gonna be great. And a bunch of other things abound. Might even have a Halloween party this year. I'm going to find out hopefully tomorrow, so I know how to plan appropriately.
Ethan, quickly, what does CHUD stand for?
Fuck if I know.
Cannibalistic Humanoid Underdweller.
I found out the secondary title to it.
Bud the Chud.
Bud the Chud.
But the Chud.
Is Bearded Drum still a thing?
Sure.
You heard it here, folks.
It's still a thing. Figure it out.
For Travelers on the Omnibus, I'm Brady Davis.
I'm Jody Kai.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
No, that's Ethan Two Sisters Skinner.
Yeah.
And I'm James McCarthy. Do you have two sisters or just one?
Two sisters, yeah.
You had to think about it.
What?
Yeah.
That's typical brother behavior.
Yeah, I have two sisters.
Also typical behavior for a man who watched another movie.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
That's your nickname now.
Yeah, I realize
Another
that.
movie?
I'm gonna call you that at work. No one's gonna understand,
Yeah.
and unless you tell them, because I'm not.
Not another Ethan
Nah.
movie?
No.
Not another Ethan movie.
So,
Starring Chris Evans.
I got bored and
Watched Two Sisters?
IMDb. They have like the trivia page.
Uh-huh.
There's only one thing of trivia for it.
Uh-huh.
It was filmed in 12 days.
Wow.
That sounds about right.
Sounds like it shows it.
That's
It
5
does.
more days than what the ring tape will kill you in.
7